Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today, and I trust you all are keeping well. This time I am discussing success in seclusion, how to take advantage of remote working. Let's get into it. So many things had changed significantly about work in the past decade, but companies still required people to do most of their work at the office. Today, the vast majority of the workforce is working remotely, and many of us are seeing the change unfold in front of us. Businesses and employees did not have time to prepare for this. There was limited time to get the technology sorted. Change management had to come after, even though it's needed most, as for the first time, so many employees will be working away from an office. And similarly, so many managers will be coordinating with employees without face-to-face interactions for an extended duration. But it is worthwhile noting the areas where we are ready. Computing technology, communication infrastructure, especially broadband, have been ready to support this shift. Before going further in the presentation though, I have a question for you. Was your organization ready for this sudden shift? Did you have the technology ready to go? Did the employees have the right software, resources and application to work virtually? Were they psychologically ready? Were you ready for this change? From interactions I've had with my connections, no organization was fully set up for this shift. And if they were ready, they weren't ready for it to be at this scale. So needless to say, we are at the beginning of a new era. There is strong evidence that a great deal of innovation takes place during times of crisis. Cedal Neely correctly states that organizations will experiment more with virtual work going forwards. Organizations such as Amazon, Apple, Sanofi and American Express are much more advanced in running virtual teams successfully. A connection of mine who led engineering projects in Toyota was mentioning how Toyota was doing design reviews for parts over video conference calls between global facilities 10 years ago. I am more curious about human interactions and how this will change. Will we become more global? Will we be able to be hired for roles in other countries because it's a preferred time zone for us? My curiosity about the future is at an all-time high, as you can probably tell. So in this video, I share my insights alongside thoughts from experts for your benefit. So let's get to answering the big question. How do you make a success of your seclusion? The answer is simple. Get the basics right. But on a lighter note, for many, this is a complex challenge, given that they're yet to master working in an office. Recognizing and acknowledging the change that has just taken place is a good place to start. While you may be familiar working remotely like me, it is not the same for everyone. Many are coming into this mode of working for the first time, and there is a reason why they didn't adopt this earlier. The first change is the use of technology. Going from offices where people could print easily to not being able to print documents is a change. Being able to ask a colleague about a shortcut used to be easy. Now it isn't. Not having two monitors to easily view information is a change. For some, a minor one, but for some, it is a big change. Reduced interaction with the manager is a second big change. Many employees will struggle with reduced access, direct support, and communication from managers. As mentioned earlier, this will be the first time many will be working remotely. For those new to the workforce, who are reliant on decisions and directions, this will be an uncomfortable space to be in. And even harder for those who are just settling into a new role and require more time to learn about their roles and tasks. And this leads to the next point, which is increased reliance and trust in people's own judgment. This can be daunting for many, and even more where people are used to bouncing off decisions with peers. Questions such as, should I include this in the email or not? Shall I take the approach Jane is suggesting or the one Mark had previously recommended? You see, these are small changes, but it draws a lot of energy from someone who is new to working alone and working virtually. I am sure the access to information is something we all can relate to. It is now not as easy as asking, hey Josh, do you know where the latest organization chart is? On one side, the employee might be hesitant to ask for this information online. And on the other side, another employee might get frustrated when asked for these basic things via email. While this is only an example, things like this can easily spiral out of control. Hence, it's recommended to acknowledge this as a change. The next point is about social interactions. Over time, employees can easily feel isolated, and it is easy not to give this topic a lot of attention. Social interactions is a big part of office culture, and it is hard to substitute that. Another connection of mine mentioned how they have games like conference call bingo to keep people engaged, along with a morning catch-up between the team, where they just generally chat, similar to chats while having coffee together. No need to guess what the current topic of conversation will be. The final point is to acknowledge distractions at home. Not every employee has a dedicated workspace. And if they did, maybe they're sharing it with their spouses as they're also working from home right now. Adding to that is the fact that this change is unplanned. So be sure to acknowledge and understand that there will be distractions regardless of your expectations. Not acknowledging the above and possibly many other changes will make the rest of what we will cover redundant. So be sure to pay good attention to these points. Let's look at identifying and removing waste. I learned in my Lean and Six Sigma training that identifying and removing waste is the best way to improve productivity. We don't have to go too far to look for proven approaches that help us identify wastes. Taiichi Ohno, the father of Toyota production system on which lean thinking is based on, devised the 7 wastes. While initially developed for manufacturing, it has been adopted into many industries, and here a modified version, which has 8 wastes, is adopted for reviewing your virtual workflow. For this section, let's focus on a workflow in your business. It could be the path taken for a vendor to be onboarded, a project approval, a transaction, or even the transfer of design to construction, or anything along those lines. The first waste to look for is transportation. Look at how many handoffs there are between people and teams to progress an activity from start to finish. Does it really need that many handoffs? In the absence of a system, does that mean emails bouncing back and forth between the teams? Let's look at the second waste, waiting. How often do you or your team members wait for a decision or communication, or even direction on which way to proceed? Does the activity stall as a result of this? Do you end up slowing tasks down as you're waiting for people to be available for a meeting, and they are only available 2 days later? Motion is the fifth waste, and a significant one in the context of this presentation. Are you or your team dealing with multiple tasks at once, switching between applications and dealing with multiple stakeholders for unrelated tasks? Are you also dealing with distractions through multiple channels of communication, including your phones? And let's look at one final waste for this category, inventory. Is the backlog of incomplete work increasing? Recall that it is completed work that counts as productivity. So it's important for organizations to be completing work. So scrutiny needs to be given to the inventory of work, as it is a good indicator of where improvements need to be made. I didn't go into detail for all wastes, and nor did I cover all possible scenarios. I am sure you will have numerous examples crossing your mind for workflows you deal with daily. Having looked at wastes in the workflow, let us look at waste in a meeting. Many tell me that meetings are a productivity killer. Extreme terms used. And I don't think meetings kill productivity. Poorly organized and poorly facilitated meetings do. And a good meeting starts with an agenda. The first waste is to have people attend a meeting without a clear agenda and expectations of the meeting. There is so much time lost then in setting the context and bringing everyone or that one person up to speed, wasting time for everyone else present. Of course, meetings that don't start and finish on time is a waste. It fits in well with the waiting category that Taiichi Ohno developed. Often the effect of a delayed meeting cascades to other meetings and aspects of work. It adds up quickly, don't you agree? Overprocessing is my favorite when it comes to identifying waste in meetings. Recall the meeting where the outcome had been finalized in a fraction of the meeting duration, but the deliberation continued on in circles. Or teams responding to questions from someone who didn't need to be in the meeting in the first place. Again, I know you understand the concept, so I won't go too deep here. But one very important thing to note: meetings are extremely important when it comes to working with virtual teams. Being able to focus on outcomes, keep track of actions, hold accountability, and keep discussions progressive are key factors to making sure meetings are productive. And if you can see and demonstrate that meetings are productive through action registers and output, your organization is demonstrating correct behaviors to being productive. Let's focus now on making virtual work a good experience for our teams. Randy Race mentions in the Harvard Business Review that employees require a few more things than clear direction and not being micromanaged. I will only be discussing the points relevant to the current situation in this video. The first is convenience. While internet access and speed is largely dependent on the investment the employee has made, let's equip them with the right gear to be productive. I have seen people taking home monitors from their office. It's a great step by those organizations. Providing easy access to information without multiple security gates with simplified sign-on are small things that help improve the employee's experience and greatly impact productivity. Tools that make knowledge and information visible is extremely useful presently. Posting information on tools such as Microsoft Teams and Slack is great not only for transparency but also for awareness and engagement. These gestures provide information and subtly put to context other discussions or decisions later in the week which the employees may not be privy to on traditional communication platforms such as emails. Every virtual worker has similar information needs. A connection from one of the big fours mentioned that leaders have to make sure information is communicated broadly. With working virtually, there are chances for information silos, as you may be communicating directly with someone and forget to share it with the rest of the team. Being mindful to share information is essential. Accountability gets mentioned in all leadership conversations on virtual work. How do you keep the team and individuals accountable? How do you keep the team informed on what their colleagues are working on? Setting clear goals around activities is a good place to start, noting that you don't want to micromanage. Even if the entire team is delivering an activity, hold one person accountable for the delivery, like you would in a normal scenario, letting them work with the team to complete the delivery. Always provide a reasonable deadline and be clear on what the activity involves and your expectation. This then needs to be captured on an activity management tool that is detailed enough, shared, and visible to all team members. While tools such as Trello, Asana, Basecamp are there, you can start with simple Excel trackers, which are simple to set up in platforms such as Microsoft Teams and Slack. And for managers, it also becomes a good planning and reporting tool too. And last but not the least is communication. Ensure that you keep communication open with your team using multiple channels. While you can use chat tools provided by the business and emails, use video calls for check-ins. Randy Race mentions that video calls with team members helps with good relationships and the visual cues allow improved communication. Using emojis is a good, cool way to break communication barriers. In summary, communicate as much as possible. It is an investment. To wrap up, I would now like to share some tools that contributed to the success I had in managing virtual teams. These are tools that many of you may be familiar with. They have stood the test of time. They are simple, effective, and they are everything you need to kickstart the journey to success while in seclusion now. The performance dashboard. Getting everyone to see how they are performing is critical. I use this to keep everyone focused and filter noise out. It also provides good reasons to celebrate, acknowledge efforts of the team, or course correct. Most businesses have these dashboards in place already for each function. With cloud-based reporting platforms, these should be easily accessible online by everyone. The problem and countermeasures register. This captures all the barriers or problems negatively impacting the KPI and the performance of the team, along with countermeasures that the team is putting in to arrest those problems. The template has an action owner and a completion date. For me, this tool is the best for capturing actions that are both important and urgent for the team, and the register makes communication and tracking simple. The actions tracker is a simple table with a Gantt chart that records the action, owner, and key dates for projects and initiatives and actions that arise from meetings. I use this to plan activities, visualize work allocation, and deadlines. Additionally, this is the way I track progress of action in meetings. This is a good reference for one-to-one discussions too. Publishing this on a shared platform is great for people to autonomously move from one action to another and have visibility of progress of other team members. And as mentioned earlier, nothing is better than letting the team hold each other accountable. There are other tools such as Asana which do this in a smart way. Happy for businesses to explore those as well if everyone will use it consistently, including yourself. The writing is on the wall. Virtual work will be the way most organizations choose to work in the foreseeable future. The happenings of the past few weeks has set the flywheel in motion. I have seen and experienced such shifts before. Getting this shift correct right now will give your organization a head start. The head start is you making a success of your seclusion. Shifts like this require simple and scalable approaches. The good news is that all the tools I have shared with you today do not require any upfront investment. These are tools that has made many large organizations who they are. It doesn't take too much for you, know your competitors to get ready for this opportunity. Embrace this challenge and let it become the opportunity that gets you ahead of the pack. Do reach out to me if you would like a copy of the presentation or would like to discuss how you can take advantage of remote working. You can email me on hello@shivendra.com or drop me a direct message via any of the social platforms you follow me on. I wish to thank all well-wishers and connections who sent through points, comments and questions. A special mention to Paul McLaughlin and Neil Patel from Concerto Analytics. Their insights have been incredibly valuable. Thank you.